Hey, Zach.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Now,
Hey Zach,
how many people are we gonna? Hi. How many people do you guys think we're gonna have?
I don't know.
It says, all right. Well, I guess uh, I'll give everybody like 2 more minutes, and then we'll go,
Sounds good.
and then they can watch the video. Yeah. If I'm gonna be running the meetings, I will keep the um, formal talking or the formal part of the meeting as short as possible for however long I'm running the meetings. I can't send any email to the Ceph dev list, as it turns out. I don't know who to talk to about that, but
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I sent an email and it just it awaited moderation. But the agenda is on the Etherpad.
Okay,
Are
we
you
can
subscribed to the
certainly.
list?
I That's a good question. Maybe, maybe not.
That's
I've
probably
subscribed to a
why.
lot of stuff, so all right, let me write this down. Okay, in 30 seconds, I'm going. All right, I'm gonna go. Um, my name is Zach Dover. I have been hired as the staff docs writer. I've been, um, I guess we first talked in early September, I suppose, and then maybe mid-September. And the contract says like last day of October or first day of November. So that's how long I've been working on Ceph. Uh, I'm originally from the US. I've lived in Australia for the last 8 years. Um, I read a lot. I cook a lot. Right now, I'm reading Dr. Faustus by Thomas Mann. I also read a lot of mid 20th century science fiction. Originally, I was looking for misogyny in mid 20th century science fiction. It turns out that it was different than I thought. It was a lot of chauvinism and not so much straight up like hatred of women as uh, like women would always come in these sci-fi stories with like cigarettes and tea, and then they would leave. And uh, although the best science fiction story I know, Vintage Season, is a story from 1946 written by Christine Moore. So that's one of my hobbies is reading science fiction. I read a lot. I mess around with computer networking stuff, and I write stuff. So that's my introduction to me. Um, and there are 3 items on the agenda that I want to discuss. One is RST. The next is what I'm doing right now, which is the Getting Started Guide, the CRISP Getting Started Guide, phrase that Sage used back in September, and Neha used it again. So I think CRISP Getting Started Guide is good. And then just an open discussion. So um, in the meeting that we had yesterday, uh, we were discussing whether we wanted to continue using RST. And what do you guys think?
Is there any reason to change?
I don't think so. So this might seem sort of ridiculous for me to bring something up and then say nah, but we discussed, maybe somebody has some objection and this would be a good time to voice it since there's a change. But I think it would be a lot of work to refactor it in something else. But we thought we would, ask if anybody had any preferences. All right, I'm going to take the silence
voiced
for
small complaints about
Go
it
ahead.
before. Mostly,
You
I
would like-
think it's just a little difficult to get started with it, and which format options are supported is a little confusing. And we've got some, especially recently, we've had to make some interesting hacks to get it to do what we want. For example, one of the things I asked one of my developers to do was find a way to remove a redundant table of contents on the CephFS index page. There was basically two table of contents on the same page. There's one on the left, which is standard for all the pages, and then there's one on the bottom of the index where you had to explicitly list out everything you wanted to link to in order for it to show up on the left side table of contents. What we ended up doing was we had to add an HTML comment in the index page so that the table of contents is not listed at the bottom, but it still shows up on the left because the RSD document processing program still sees the links and it adds it to the left side table of contents. It's a cute hack, but I think that's fairly typical for the types of things we have to do to get it to work. With that said, I'm not gung-ho about us changing it. I'm just, I just thought I'd bring it up as something we could potentially switch from to some newer technology, although I have no suggestions in that regard.
Guess that's
Do you have a
thanks
list
issue.
of things like that? Yeah, that's what I would think. Do you have a list of these table of content, like anything like that? Because as long as we have a list of like pitfalls, I think that's probably lower cost and better than changing to another language.
Nothing else comes
I don't
to
like
mind.
the way that okay. So I've got that down.
I mean,
Go ahead.
in
Sorry, go ahead,
general, I don't really have an opinion, but I don't think that's the most pressing thing for us to fix right now. I do understand where you're coming from, that if we have to make a change, we rather make it early, but I think that's not the biggest problem for us right now. So maybe we should not invest so much effort into that. As Patrick pointed out, if there are things that do not work, fine. Let's just list those and see what alternatives we have there.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think
It's
this
not a high
might
priority.
be the last time. We probably won't talk about it again. Okay, so the main thing is I am working on the getting started guide, and since I have slept recently and I have a clearer mind, I'm going to spend the next however long I'm awake installing a cluster and then getting the getting started guide as user-friendly as I possibly can. Right now, this is the installation, the Ceph daemon installation procedure that's at docs cephcom docs master bootstrap. And the very first thing that I'm going to do with it is add in prompt information to make it clear which context commands are sent from. I still have not set up a cluster myself, so I still have all the ignorance necessary to be critical of the guide as it stands. But my hope is that I will no longer have that ignorance in 10 hours. I talked to Brad. Brad Hubbard and I had lunch yesterday, and it turns out that we know a bunch of the same people, which is a small world. We work with the same people for years, and he lives like in a neighborhood right down the street from Jamie Bainbridge. So how about that? But Brad has told me if I run into any problem at any time, I can call him. So I expect the getting started guide to go as smoothly as it possibly can. So that's what I'm doing. I'm hoping to have it finished by a week from 12 hours ago. So by my Wednesday morning, I'm hoping to be able to say, like, there it is. There's the getting started guide that can be handed to like a curious 16-year-old in a basement somewhere in Ohio. And then if they want to get Ceph cluster up and running, all they have to know is how to get to a command line and how to type. And so my hope is Wednesday, and then it's ready for you guys to vet, and then it's ready to go out into the world. And then the fourth item, so that's 3 of 4 things on the agenda. The fourth item is open discussion. So what do you guys think I should be working on? What sort of doc stuff do we need to address?
I don't know what others think, but there's another thing, the hardware recommendations page that came up earlier as well, needs updates. So once we have the installation sorted out, maybe.
Okay.
So I have another person from my team who will be working on the OS recommendations page as well. So I'll let you know who that person is, and then you can sync up with her. But then these are the 2 immediate things that I'm thinking can be worked out next.
Okay, I'm sorry, you're cutting out a lot, Neha. So one is hardware recommendations, and what's the second one?
The other one is the OS recommendations. I'll paste the link in the chat.
Okay. Sure. And do we have updated hardware and software recommendations yet, or is this just a proposal? This is just something to be aware of. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. We need to update a lot of this, so that's.
Yeah. I have a feeling we need to like revisit what we want the scope of these recommendations to be too, because they're really old and like the things that we're talking about may or may not be relevant. I mean, it's like a lot of many pages of information here that talking about like gigabit networks, and oh my god, yeah, it's so out of date.
So the way that I'm approaching it is I bought 3 of these things. I can't even see myself because I have the chat up. I bought 3 of these NUCs, and they're sitting, well, 2 of them are sitting in a stack next to my TV over there, and Fedora 30 is going on them. And then I'm going to set up a basic cluster, 3 things. So I assume it will work with the cheapest NUCs you can buy.
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing fancy here. It's 8 gigs in each of them and 120 gigs of hard drive. But I don't know. My suggestion is that I'll go through this. I'll get the procedure working, and then I'll just make a list of like, here's how I built a very basic one, and then we can do more enterprisey lists as well. That would be my suggestion, or at least that's what's useful to me. I don't know Sage, if you're courting like Liechtenstein or something, maybe they don't want to run their Ceph cluster on NUCs. So you'll have to tell me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, just skimming these documents, there's a ton of just out of date information, but also like when we should just have a discussion on each one when we get to that point and talk about what the scope of recommendation should be. I think they're both
All
a
right.
little bit off. Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I've got for right now. Oh, I do remember. There's also this flagging old docs with this update that's been pushed by the guy with the Cyrillic name. I can't think of his name. You know what I'm talking about. We will discuss that next week when I have some idea of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to do with the labeling of the right versions and outdated versions and navigation and stuff. So yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to bring up. Yeah.
Okay, so we're 16 minutes into a 30-minute slot. The agenda is, my agenda is complete. I'll summarize what I've got here.
Are we still talking about other gaps and wishes? I have a couple items too.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, Sage. Go.
Okay. So the other is, so you're working on the getting started guide right now, but I think also just the landing page might be a good place also, where we just taking a fresh look at like the first page you land at when you go to the docs, like what do we want to see there? What should be the top level items, like quick start, how it works. I don't know whatever it is, but I think that's probably worth revisiting. The thing that's there is pretty old. And then the other thing is the template that we are using right now. My recollection is that this was one of the generic Sphinx templates that TV fiddled with like 8 years ago, and he just picked one that looked okay, and then he went and changed the CSS so that it used the Ceph colors. But otherwise, it's like a generic thing. But it kind of sucks. Like I noticed that periodically all the headings are like just really awkward and hard to figure out what's a low-level heading and what's a high-level heading and so on. So like a pull request I entered that has like 2 or 3 different levels for and a couple charts, like a super simple page comes out just looking really weird. Like here's the example render. Here.
Yeah, I find it hard to navigate when we added the community calendar to the page. I could find it, on the command line, no problem, using find and quotes, but like the command line utility find. But then
like the table
it's
of contents
nested under the. Oh yeah. It's nested in the table of contents, and it took me like I had to calm myself down and like okay, item 1, no, it's not here. Item 2, no, it's not, and just like go down and find it. And so that sucked.
Yeah, there's
all right.
There's organization, but also just the template headings. Like on this one, top heading, you don't see it, but the second level heading is super bright, and the third level heading is like really subtle and like a small font. It's just like weird. But if you're looking for a distraction or bored or something, I wonder if it would make sense just to like browse some of the Sphinx templates that are out there and just pick one that like looks okay, and then we can spend a half hour changing the colors so that it looks Cephy, and then just plop it in, and it'll probably be a net improvement.
Okay, I'll do that. If you I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's it's your project. But if you see something that you particularly like, let me know, so I'm not looking in the wrong direction.
Okay.
All right. So Sphinx template updating, that's added to my agenda. I'll send out an email saying what we talked about, or I'll add it to the Etherpad. Nobody wants an email that they're not going to read. Anything else?
I think those are the main.
So one thing I missed earlier was about the. Sorry, Patrick. I want to talk about the website.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So we talked about this earlier as well. The calendar in the website, the community calendar, adding the community calendar in the website. And also the landing page of the website. I mean, like that's another thing that needs to be looked at. What are the 5 things that should be there, or like what are the most important things that should be there? And for that, you'll just need, I think, Greg told me about it, some access to WordPress, I think, a WordPress account. And that should help you.
The calendar is on the website already. It's on this
Okay.
page. the website is just poorly organized and hard to find anything.
Mhm.
I wonder if we should separate out the website into a separate discussion, because there's a separate
Mhm.
thread where there's a couple of people from SUSE who want to work on the website, and
Okay.
there's a general interest to just update it. And the thinking is to get away from WordPress and move to a static site generator thing, so that the site will actually just be in GitHub and people can submit pull requests and so on. So I think the hope is to find a contractor who can just go do that initial conversion, and then it'll be a lot easier to maintain after that.
Sounds good. Cool.
Okay.
So, okay,
Agreed.
forget whatever I said. Yeah. Patrick, go ahead.
I just thought I'd bring up, since we're talking about adjusting the documentation for the main pages that the user sees when they look at the Ceph docs. Are we happy with the current landing page for the documentation? That is, in the chat, the welcome to Ceph page.
I'm not.
I think
That's why I brought it up. Yeah.
No.
Did we already talk about
like
that?
that's one of the like three. I hope this doesn't seem like I'm being mean, but like this is the third mention of it in this meeting, and like almost every meeting that I've attended in the 2 weeks that I've been with it, the landing page has come up. So
Oh, I thought.
I would describe the response. Well, I've got landing page written down here twice. But
okay, sorry.
This one, right? The one here where it just says Ceph uniquely delivers object block and file storage in one unified system, and then there's nothing you can click on except for redirects to explaining what object block and file is. Yeah, okay. That should be different.
Yep.
Okay, that's on the radar then.
Yeah.
Yep. I would maybe do that after, as soon as you're done with it getting started. That's probably the top priority, I would say, is probably doing this.
Yep.
Nice link into getting started.
Yeah, good call.
I would like to bring up, though,
sure.
There's something to be said about pictures, and I think that would be a great thing to put on the landing page, a picture of not a cephalopod, but some new modern picture of the cluster that adequately communicates what Ceph does. So that's something we should start thinking about.
There are a bunch of good pictures in the intro to Ceph doc that you had done, Sage, the slide deck that you had created. Not that.
Okay, I've got that written down. Patrick is keen to have a picture on the landing page. All right, and that's it for me, guys. I got what I needed out of the meeting. We got 6 minutes left. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, I'm seeing now shaking heads, so I'm going to assume that's it. So yeah, meeting over. Thanks everybody for showing up.
All right.
All right.
Cool. Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.